Today we have 5 new vocabulary words: disruptive, prototype, iterative, breakthrough, and disruptor. As you listen to the story, I want you to try to guess the meaning of each term, and then we'll dive deeper into them after. Are you ready? Well then, let's jump right in. Our story for today is Rising from the Ashes. The ear-splitting sound of sirens filled the air as Maya watched helplessly from across the street. Flames engulfed her small bakery, the business she had poured her life savings and 3 years of relentless work into. Firefighters battled the blaze, but she already knew that little would remain. As neighbors offered comforting words, Maya's mind was already racing ahead past the devastation and toward what would come next. I can rebuild, she whispered to herself, the heat of the fire still warming her face. I have to. 2 weeks later, Maya sat at her kitchen table, surrounded by sketches and notes. The insurance money wouldn't cover everything, but it was a start. Her bakery had been popular in the neighborhood, known for its unique fusion pastries that blended her Indian heritage with French techniques. But simply rebuilding the same business felt like a missed opportunity. The fire was devastating, but maybe it's also a chance to create something truly disruptive in the local food scene. She told her best friend Zoe over coffee. Zoe raised an eyebrow. Disruptive? How? I've been thinking about how much food waste occurs in restaurants and grocery stores in our neighborhood. What if my new bakery could partner with them, using their excess ingredients to create daily specials? We could reduce waste and offer unique items that change daily. The concept evolved quickly. Maya rented a small commercial kitchen and began developing a prototype of her business model. She approached 3 local restaurants and a grocery store, proposing to collect their excess produce and ingredients that would otherwise be discarded. The response was enthusiastic. These businesses were already paying for waste removal, so giving these items to Maya actually saved them money. The first few weeks were complete chaos. Maya later admitted in an interview with a local business magazine, "I'd receive random ingredients each morning and have to quickly develop recipes that would showcase them deliciously. Some days I created masterpieces. Other days were learning experiences." Maya embraced an iterative approach to her business. Each week she evaluated what worked and what didn't, refining her processes and recipes. She created a digital system to track incoming ingredients, successful recipes, and customer feedback. When something didn't sell well, she wouldn't make it again. When something proved popular, she found ways to incorporate similar techniques with different ingredients. The beauty of working this way is that customers never got bored. Maya explained to her growing social media following, "They come in specifically to see what unique creations we've developed today." 6 months into her new venture, Maya faced a significant challenge. A national bakery chain announced plans to open a location just a block from her space. They had massive marketing budgets and standardized processes that allowed them to sell pastries at lower prices than she could ever offer. "How can I possibly compete with them?" she asked Zoe during a late-night stress session. Zoe considered the question carefully. "You don't compete on their terms. You're a disruptor. Remember? They can't do what you do, connect with local businesses, reduce food waste, and create unique daily offerings that tell a story about our neighborhood." The conversation sparked something in Maya. Instead of hiding from the competition, she decided to highlight exactly what made her business different. She installed a large chalkboard wall that displayed the day's rescued ingredients and their sources. Each pastry came with a small card explaining which local business had contributed to it. The company and the community response was overwhelming. Customers began specifically requesting pastries that used ingredients from their favorite local restaurants. The restaurants and grocery stores in turn began promoting Maya's bakery to their own customers. What had started as a practical solution to her limited budget had evolved into a powerful community connection point. Maya's breakthrough moment came when a local news station featured her bakery in a segment about innovative small businesses. The reporter highlighted not just the quality of her food, but the environmental impact of her business model. By the end of her first year, Maya had partnered with 12 local food businesses and had diverted over 3,000 pounds of food from landfills. When the national bakery chain opened nearby, something unexpected happened. Rather than taking Maya's customers, they found themselves struggling to attract the local clientele who had become fiercely loyal to Maya's ever-changing community-connected offerings. 6 months later, the chain location closed. Sometimes the best innovations come from necessity, Maya reflected as she prepared to open a second location. When you have limited resources, you're forced to think differently about problems. That's when truly impactful solutions emerge. Today, Maya's business model has been adopted by entrepreneurs in several other cities. She regularly consults with new business owners looking to create similar community-connected food establishments. What began as a response to personal tragedy has evolved into a movement that strengthens local food ecosystems one pastry at a time. That was a powerful story, and that story included each of our 5 vocabulary terms: disruptive, prototype, iterative, breakthrough, and disruptor. Now it's time for us to dive deeper. I want us to start with the term disruptive. In the story, we heard this term used at the beginning. The word disruptive, we heard the word disruptive when we read, "The fire was devastating, but maybe it's also a chance to create something truly disruptive in the local food scene." So the question is, what does this term disruptive actually mean? Let's go to our notes. Disruptive. This term actually means something that causes a significant change in an industry or market, often by introducing a new method or technology that replaces or transforms existing practices. That's exactly what she was doing with her business. She was a disruptor. Now, I want us to check out these example sentences connected to this term disruptive. The very first example sentence is, "The startup is known for its disruptive technology that challenges traditional banking methods." Next, "The disruptive nature of AI has the potential to reshape multiple industries from healthcare to finance." And finally, "Disruptive innovations often lead to the creation of new business models and markets." So once again, we have the term disruptive. So let's read that portion of the story one more time using the term disruptive. "The fire was devastating, but maybe it's also a chance to create something truly disruptive in the local food scene," she told her best friend Zoe over coffee. Zoe raised an eyebrow. Disruptive how? Now you understand this term, disruptor. Let's move to the second term. The second term is prototype. Prototype. Now, what does this term prototype actually mean? The term prototype just refers to an initial model or sample of a product created to test and evaluate its design before mass production. Prototype, an initial model or sample of a product. So in the story, this term prototype was used. We had the term prototype right in this section where it says, "The concept evolved quickly. Maya rented a small commercial kitchen and began developing a prototype of her business model." So we have the term prototype here. But let's check out some example sentences using this term. Here's the first example sentence. The engineers presented a prototype of the new smartphone at the tech conference. Next, before launching the final version, the company will test several prototypes to refine the design. And finally, the prototype was successful in its first trial, but several improvements were needed for the final version. So again, our second term is prototype. And so let's go back and read that section of the story again quickly. The concept evolved quickly. Maya rented a small commercial kitchen and began developing a prototype of her business model. She approached 3 local restaurants and a grocery store, proposing to collect their excess produce and ingredients that would otherwise be discarded. The response was enthusiastic. These businesses were already paying for waste removal, so giving these items to Maya actually saved them money. So our second term again, prototype. Now we move to our third term. The third term is iterative. Iterative. What does this term iterative actually mean? And when we looked at the story, we saw this term being used as well. This term was used, let's read where it was used first. This term was used at this part. Maya embraced an iterative approach to her business. So what does iterative actually mean? The term iterative just refers to a process or approach that involves repeated cycles or stages where improvements are made based on feedback or results from each iteration. Again, from each iteration, you have feedbacks and results. Iterative. So what about the example sentences using this term? Here's the first example sentence. The software development team used an iterative approach to refine the user interface over several months. Next, iterative testing is a crucial part of product development in order to identify flaws early. And last, the design process was iterative, with each version bringing the product closer to its final form. So again, we have iterative. So when we go back to our story and we look at the section that included this term, this is what it sounds like. Maya embraced an iterative approach to her business. Each week she evaluated what worked and what didn't, refining her processes and recipes. She created a digital system to track incoming ingredients, successful recipes, and customer feedback. When something didn't sell well, she wouldn't make it again. When something proved popular, she found ways to incorporate similar techniques with different ingredients. So again, our third term is iterative. Now our fourth term is another good one. Our fourth term is breakthrough. Breakthrough. So in the story, we heard the term breakthrough as well. Let's highlight that section. The term breakthrough was used towards the end of the story. It says Maya's breakthrough moment came when a local news station featured her bakery in a segment about innovative small businesses. So what does this term breakthrough actually mean? The term breakthrough just means a sudden, significant advance or discovery, often one that leads to major progress in a field. Again, a breakthrough. Maya had an idea. Wait a minute, this has never been done before. Let's do it this way. So again, breakthrough is a discovery, often that leads to major progress in the field. Here's the first example sentence. The medical team made a breakthrough in cancer research, paving the way for new treatments. Next, the new energy storage technology is considered a breakthrough in sustainable energy. And finally, her breakthrough invention revolutionized the way people use solar power. So again, we have this term. Our fourth term is breakthrough. Now let's see once again how the term was used in the story. Once again, Maya's breakthrough moment came when a local news station featured her bakery in a segment about innovative small businesses. The reporter highlighted not just the quality of her food, but the environmental impact of her business model. By the end of her first year, Maya had partnered with 12 local food businesses and had diverted over 3,000 pounds of food from landfills. So once again, our fourth term, breakthrough. Now we have our fifth term. Our fifth term is disruptor. Disruptor. And in the story, we heard this term used multiple times. Let's go to this term being used in the middle of the story. The term again being disruptor, used in the middle of the story. Zoe considered the question carefully. You don't compete on their terms. You're a disruptor. Remember? So now we need to look and see, what does this term disruptor actually mean? So the term disruptor means a person, company, or technology that introduces an innovation that changes the established order or market dynamics. So changing the way things are done, changing a system, people changing, or a company changing things. We call this person or this entity a disruptor. Here are the example sentences. The company has positioned itself as a disruptor in the transportation industry with its electric vehicle technology. Next, many startups aim to become industry disruptors by challenging the dominance of established firms. And finally, the rise of streaming services turned traditional media companies into disruptors in the entertainment industry. So once again, our fifth term is disruptor. Now let's go back to the story to see again how it was used. Here we go. Zoe considered the question carefully. You don't compete on their terms. You're a disruptor, remember? They can't do what you do. Connect with local businesses, reduce food waste, and create unique daily offerings that tell a story about our neighborhood. So once again, our fifth term that we had is disruptor. We had 5 terms today: disruptive, prototype, iterative, breakthrough, and disruptor. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Remember to continue improving your English vocabulary, and I'll talk to you next time.